To see it is to realize the disconnect. How can a city under a fourth state of emergency still look so vibrant? How can there be decrees about no spectators and closing open-air fan zones when the same rigor doesn't apply outside the Olympic bubble? So what is the reality of COVID's clutch here? On the surface, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of anxiety. The thing is, though, in the first 14 days, one of the rules is we can't get out of the vehicle unless it's at an approved location. And so, in order to try to connect, we got a little help. A freelance crew took a wander for us, and in a city where emergency rules suggest alcohol not be served, it is not hard to find booze on offer in crowded, loud underground bars. The reality is we're not following the emergency rules, says Hidenori Ikeda. He's not vaccinated, not sure he wants to be. He's scared of adverse reactions. But here's where this gets curious. He says he's actually very worried about COVID. That's why he's against the Olympics being here. It's not good if the number of infected people goes up, he adds. One man in one bar, but crowds are still everywhere. In the streets, the pachinko parlors. And that's telling. Constitutionally, Japan cannot order places to close. It can suggest. At the pandemic start, people listened, suffered terribly economically. And now they're just fed up, openly resenting the Olympic influx, even if rules within that bubble are so strict. I thank you so much for coming. It was very With a guest pass, political scientist Koichi Nakano was able to come to see us. As you traverse the real world of Tokyo and this Olympic bubble, how do you explain these two solitudes?
It's very bizarre. And of course, we don't know, which side is more secure.
What is your sense of the level of apprehension amongst the people of this city and this country?
Well, a lot of anxiety, and quite frankly, I'm really worried about the rise of xenophobic sentiment in Japan. Japan is an insular country with its own sort of insular attitude, I have to say. There is this idea Japan is a clean, peaceful country and threats come from outside. There's persistent sort of feeding of negative idea of, kind of dangerous foreigners are arriving. This is really not what the Olympics is supposed to be.
Perspective counts. Japan's brush with COVID hasn't been as acute as many others have endured. And with more hospital beds per 1,000 people than most other countries, the emergency hasn't yet felt urgent. But numbers now rise towards a fifth wave just as testing rates come down. And then there's the slow vaccine rollout. Why is that? Step into Dr. Haruo Ozaki's busy clinic, as the freelance crew did on CBC's behalf. Ozaki is the president of the Tokyo Medical Association, one of hundreds of physicians worried about hosting the games and vaccinations catching up. One hurdle, the paper. Look, he says, at what he files for 1 day of COVID shots. Patients have to wait for vaccination invitations. They come in the mail and they take a while.
Japanese system is too many questions.
He suspects if it was all simpler, the vaccinations could happen faster. But then there's the hesitancy. Japan has one of the lowest rates of vaccine confidence in the world. There's a story behind that. Back in the 90s, complaints about the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine led Japan to halt it. Lawsuits made the government responsible for adverse effects. So in 1994, vaccines became optional. To win trust, Japan now conducts its own clinical trials. Clinical trials have been conducted in Japan for vaccines that were already found to be safe, the doctor says. That's why the introduction of the vaccine was delayed. It is getting better, but not by much. He was able to do just 70 shots in 1 day. So Dr. Ozaki, aside from being busy, is nervous. And long before the spectator ban, his prescription was just watch on TV.
Stay home Olympic.
The Stay Home Olympics. That is exactly what is going to happen in a country not yet ready to greet the world.